Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We head out west to Dodge City, Kansas to see what's going on with Marshal Matt Dillon in an episode of Gunsmoke. This episode originally broadcast August 12th, 1956, Snakebite.
Gunsmoke. Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America. And the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful. And a little lonely.
Finally cooled up after all that hot weather, didn't it, Mr. Dillon?
Uh-huh.
It sure turned out to be a pretty nice day.
Yeah. Kind of makes a man lazy, the press.
Hey, look at that little old dog out in the street there. He sure is playful, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. If he had any sense, he'd go lie down in the shade somewhere.
Well, he's just a pup.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. Now, he better leave them horses be. He's gonna get kicked.
Well, he's got to learn sometime.
Go on. Go on, scat. Go on, get away from me, you mutt.
He's gonna make that fella mad.
Go on. Oh, I'll fix you.
Hey. Why, he shot him. Well, what a mean, miserable thing to do. That little old pup wasn't hurting nothing.
No, he sure wasn't.
Hey, that's the marshal. Well, what do you want?
Get on off those horses.
What?
Do it! Right now.
All right. Now, what's your trouble, Marshal?
I'll take your gun, mister.
No, you won't.
I'm not even going to argue with you. And I'll make a move. Here, Chester, hold it.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll take yours, too.
Sure, Marshal. I ain't gonna try nothing. Hold up now. What's this all about, anyway?
What's your name, mister?
Walt Gorman.
Mm-hmm. And what's yours?
Hicks. Judd Hicks.
All right. I don't allow shooting in Dodge.
Well, ain't no reason to take our guns.
I ought to bend them across your heads. Come on, Chester.
Hey, wait a minute. When do we get them guns back?
Tomorrow noon when you leave town.
But we ain't figuring on leaving. Oh, never mind him, Hicks. He can't run us out.
By golly, you are too, Mr. Dillon.
I will, Chester.
Look at that poor little dog. I wonder whose 'tis.
I don't know. Probably belongs to some kid around here.
I'll carry it around back to jail. Maybe the kid will want to bury it himself.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
That Gorman sure is a mean one.
Well, I can get mean, too, Chester. And I got a feeling I may have to before I'm through with him.
August 12th, 1956, Gunsmoke on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Veterinary telemedicine is booming. Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Teller, president of the American Veterinary Medical Association, and I know firsthand that telehealth is a valuable tool to help provide our precious pets with the healthcare they need and deserve. Here are some situations where telemedicine may be an option for you and your pet, if the veterinarian has seen your pet in person in the past. If you're not sure you need to schedule an in-person visit. If your pet had surgery and needs post-operative follow-up for skin diseases and rash rechecks. When your veterinarian needs to monitor your pet's chronic problems such as diabetes or allergies. If there are behavioral issues or training challenges, or for hospice care. It's always good to have your session in a quiet place with good lighting. If you're not sure if you should set up a telehealth session, call your veterinarian and they'll let you know. To learn more, check out avma.org/telehealth. avma.org/telehealth.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Gunsmoke from August 12th, 1956.
Hey, Mr. Dillon, guess what?
No, what, Jesse?
You know who that little raggedy dog belonged to? It wasn't no kid at all. It was an old fella called Pony Thompson.
Pony Thompson?
Yes, sir. He come in here a while ago. He heard we had him. He's out back now burying him.
I never heard of Pony Thompson.
Neither had I. He's a real nice old fellow, though. Oh, kindly funny looking. He looks at you from under them scraggly eyebrows like an old gray wolf, but that's him. You'll see.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
No, I ain't no Mr. Pony's good enough.
This is Marshal Dillon.
How do, Marshal?
I'm sorry about your dog.
Well, I shouldn't have brung him. Town's bad enough for humans.
Where you from, Pony? I haven't seen you in Dodge before.
I don't seek out no town but once a year. I move around on the prairie, Marshal. Sometimes I go into the mountains. I just can't stand four walls and a roof. It's like being in jail.
What are you doing here now?
Once a year, I get drunk.
What?
That's why I come to town to do it. I figure if I gotta get drunk, I gotta be cooped up in some saloon. But, just walking down your street there, I feel kind of hog-tied.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, Marshal.
Yep, honey.
Who shot my dog?
A couple of men who just rode into town.
I'll have to know their names.
You want them to pay you for the dog, Pony?
No, 'tain't money I'm after.
I didn't think so.
I got a heavy old rifle down at the stable with my gatherings. I figured to go kind of beat 'em half to death with it.
Now, that wouldn't help you, Pony.
You ain't gonna tell me their names?
No, Pony, I'm not.
Well,
Where you going?
I can't get drunk lest I start drinking, can I?
No.
But I'll find out who shot my dog. Don't you worry.
Your friend Pony Thompson's doing pretty well with the bar over there, Matt. That's his second bottle he's working on.
He sure keeps to himself, doesn't he?
A man who drinks alone is usually peaceful anyway.
Yeah.
Now, hurry it up, bartender. We ain't got all night.
Now, who's that pair? Just came in. Oh, you know him, Matt?
Yeah. One of them's the man who shot Pony's dog I was telling you about.
Oh. Well, he looks like the kind.
Kitty?
I don't know what Sam wants.
Hey, Kitty.
I better go see you. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure, Kitty.
Hey, look at this one, Hicks. She's pretty.
Yeah.
Hey, girlie, buy you a drink.
No, thanks. Oh, what do you want, Sam?
Never mind about him. Come on, have a drink.
I said no.
I said yes. Come on, girlie, loosen up now.
Tell me something, mister. Do you have to be awful brave to shoot puppy dogs?
What?
Must take a real man to do that, huh?
I just ought to slap your face in for you.
I wouldn't try that, Gorman.
It's a marshal.
Now what?
You get out of here. And you take Hicks with you.
You sure like having your own way in this here town, don't you?
I sure do. Now you get moving.
Come on, Gorman. We don't want no trouble.
Shut up. All right. I sure am getting a belly full of that.
What a hero.
Yeah. But you know, Kitty, I wish you hadn't mentioned the dog.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I forgot.
Hey, evening, Marshal.
Ah, hello, Pony.
So, that feller's name was Gorman, huh? He's got a mean face, too, ain't he?
Now, look here, Pony.
Oh, don't you worry. I ain't gonna follow him, Marshal. No sirree, Bob. I got me this here bottle to finish. Yeah, I'm gonna get drunk tonight, remember?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter after all, Matt.
Hell, I hope not, Kitty. But I'm not so sure.
Oh, my. Side meat, fried potatoes, harmony grits and sorghum, and a cup of lye. Matt, that was a mighty poor breakfast, if I do say so.
Well, then I'm glad I didn't treat you to it, Doc.
Look who's in it. If you ever treated me to breakfast, I'd be so dumbfounded I couldn't complain.
Dillon! Mr. Dillon!
What?
Oh, it's Chester. At the stable door there.
You too, Doc. Hurry up!
Me? What's he got, a sick horse in there?
He's got something, Doc. He looks pretty worried.
Oh, Chester's always worried. If it isn't money, it's women.
Moss Grimmick went to the office looking for you.
Now, what's the trouble, Chester?
There's been a killing.
What?
That fellow Walt Gorman, he got his throat cut in here. Moss found him laying in one of the stalls. Pony Thompson done it.
How do you know?
Well, he was right in there with him. He still is. We tied him up with a rope. Of course, he was passed out drunk when Moss found him, but he come too fast enough when we sluiced some water on him.
How could he kill a man when he was passed out?
I don't know, Doc, but he was all spattered with blood, and the knife was laying there right there by his hand. There he is.
Oh, Marshal! Marshal, make him turn me loose.
That's Gorman under the saddle blanket back there.
All right, I'll take a look, but I don't know how much good.
Oh, please get me loose, Marshal. Please, I just can't stand this.
All right, on time, Chester.
All right, sir.
I didn't kill nobody.
The knife's in that board right next to you, Mr. Dillon.
Oh. Pony, is this your knife?
Yeah, sure, it's mine, but I didn't use it on nobody.
It was laying right by his hand.
Well, then somebody put it there.
Gorman's dead, all right, Matt. 4 or 5 hours. He took a knife in his back and then had his throat cut.
Oh, there. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't do a thing like that, Marshal.
I wouldn't have thought so, Pony.
It's true. Oh, sure, I found him later after you left the Long Branch, but well, I only swore at him a little for shooting my poor pup.
I'm going to have to lock you up, Pony.
Oh, no, please, Marshal, don't do that. Please, don't.
I got no choice.
I tell you, I'd just go crazy. You put me in jail. I told you how I am.
Chester, take him down.
Come on, Pony, let's get going.
Oh, please don't. Not jail,
You
please.
should have thought about that before you killed Gorman. Now, come on.
I'd rather get shot. I'd rather die.
You ain't gonna die. Now walk along.
Hello, Marshal. I've been waiting for you.
Hello, Hicks.
I'd seen Chester a while ago taking Pony Thompson into the jail here.
Did he tell you what happened?
He sure did. I didn't want to see Gorman. Not after what that old man did to him.
Come on into the office, Hicks.
Oh, Mr. Dillon.
Chester?
Oh, right.
What's the matter? What's the matter? You sick or something?
He hit me.
What?
Oh.
Where's Pony Thompson?
That's what I'm telling you. He hit me with that stool in there.
You mean he got away?
I turned my back to go out of that cell, and that's all I remember.
And he's been gone about 20 minutes.
Well, let's find him. Standing around here is doing no good.
We'll find him, Hicks.
Oh, but I know where he went.
You do? Where?
Well, in the stable there, he was mumbling about a hideout he knows down by the Arkansas somewhere.
You feel up to riding, Chester?
You bet I do.
And I'm coming, too. I'll shoot that old devil on sight.
It's a good thing I took your gun, Hicks. But you're coming with us, all right, just to make sure you don't find another one.
Breaking day, Mr. Dillon. We can get moving again directly.
He could be 30 miles from here by now.
Well, you can't track a man in the dark, Hicks. We done the best we could. Blackest night I ever seen.
Marshal, I want you to give me a gun today.
You're awful anxious to shoot him down, aren't you, Hicks?
It's to keep him from shooting me. He's probably armed by now.
Oh, sure he is. There's lots of guns laying along the banks of the Arkansas. I'm cold. I'm going to walk around a little and stretch my legs.
Don't you get lost, sonny.
Oh, why don't you try keeping quiet? Your voice itches my ears.
Hicks, tell me something. How long were you and Gorman partners?
About a year. Why?
Yeah, I just wondered.
You gonna let me have a gun today?
I wouldn't trust you with a buggy.
Now, you got no cause to say that.
I want Pony Thompson alive. He'd be no good to me dead.
What do you mean?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, for one thing.
Hey, Mr. Dillon!
Yeah, what?
There's a little old cave right up here.
Go crawl in it. Maybe it'll fall on you. He sure bothers me.
You kind of bother him.
I ain't done nothing to him.
Mr. Dillon, come here, quick!
What? Yeah, what is it, Chester?
There's a man in this cave.
Ah.
It's old Pony Thompson.
Well, drag him out.
I did. He's dead, Mr. Dillon.
What? Dead?
Yes, sir.
Make a torch out of some of those dry weeds, Chester. I can't see much here.
Yes, sir.
What is it, Marshal? Somebody kill him?
I don't know, Hicks. Just stay out of the way.
Doggone it, you treat me like I was dirt. I've had enough of that.
Come on, Chester, hurry up.
Yes, sir, I got it. Here, let me get lit.
I don't feel blood anywhere.
Yeah. Ain't gonna burn long, though.
Hold it near his head.
I don't see nothing.
No, wait a minute. Hold it closer.
Huh?
Down here.
There ain't a mark on him.
Yes, there is. See those two little punctures on his neck there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Chester. Well, I guess Pony meant what he said about not liking jail.
What do you mean?
We've been sitting right down there in front of his cave for about 8 hours now. He could have hollered for help, but he didn't.
Help for what?
There was a rattlesnake in that cave.
That's what them marks on his neck was. He got bit.
And rather than face jail, he stayed in there and died.
I don't get to feeling so sorry for him. He stuck Gorman in the back and cut his throat, didn't he?
Yeah, Hicks. That's exactly what happened to Gorman.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Chester.
Yes, sir?
Did you tell Hicks that Gorman got knifed in the back?
No, sir. All I said was he got his throat cut.
And poor old Pony Thompson died for nothing. I don't know why you killed your partner, and I don't much care, but we'll find out. After we get Pony buried properly.
Now, look here, Marshal.
And you'll dig the grave, Hicks. And you'll dig it deep. The old man deserves that much from you. You know, when a High Plains woman was looking for a husband, cowhands used to laugh and say, she's throwing a wide loop. Well, next week, a woman catches her man right enough, but with a .50 caliber rifle. And that was the West.
Gunsmoke. Produced and directed by Norman Macdonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Our story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Featured in the cast were Joseph Kearns, Vic Perrin, and Lawrence Dobkin. Harley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on Gunsmoke.
George Walsh, the announcer there for Gunsmoke. August 12th, 1956, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Well, we're going to move up to August 12th, 1962, and listen to one of the last episodes, not the last episode, but about 6 weeks away from the end of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, from August 12th, 1962. And it's the Oldest Gag Matter, Mandel Kramer, starring as the man with the action-packed expense account. Hang on.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medi-Share for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medi-Share's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medi-Share is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, I know you've heard Mandel Kramer with John McLaughlin and Counter Spy, but here's an episode of him as the last Johnny Dollar, in Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, August 12th, 1962, The Oldest Gag Matter.
Johnny Dollar.
Dollar? This is Larry Spangler. Hi.
Spangler, did you say?
That's right. Star Mutual Insurance Company.
Oh, I see.
I guess we've never met because I've only been here in Hartford about a year.
Oh, well, what can I do for you, Mr. Spangler?
Mr. Spangler?
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't make an old man out of me. Call me Larry, huh?
Whatever you say. What can I do for you, Larry?
Johnny, does the name Briscom mean anything to you?
Lloyd Briscom? Runs some kind of a factory on the edge of town, doesn't he?
Yeah, he and his partner. Do you know him?
No, but I've heard of him. Why?
Well, he's one of my clients. Pretty important one. I'm on my way out to his place now. I'll be driving right by your apartment. I thought it might be a good idea to have you come along with me.
Anything wrong with him?
His business partner just called me up on the telephone. Mr. Briscom is dead.
Oh, that's too bad.
Sure is. You see, his housekeeper found him just a few minutes ago with a bullet in his head.
The CBS Radio Network brings you Mandel Kramer in the exciting adventures of man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Star Mutual Insurance Company, Home Office, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Oldest Gag Matter. Larry Spangler turned out to be one of the new generation of insurance agents with that Madison Avenue touch. You know, charcoal gray suit, white shirt, dark blue tie, well-shined shoes, and he had that freshly scrubbed look, as though he'd just stepped out of a barber shop. He was maybe 25 or 6, good-looking in an almost pretty sort of way, with well-tanned complexion, plenty of dark curly hair, and above all, that eager expression of the young man who's out to set the world on fire.
Yeah, the Briscom place is down on Live Oak Avenue, Johnny. I'm south of here a ways.
You're the driver.
I'm certainly glad you were able to come along.
Any idea who might have wanted to kill Mr. Briscom and why?
Oh, I have plenty of ideas. But why don't we see what the police have to say when we get there?
Oh, then you'd call them.
John Barber, the old man's business partner, called them. Same time as he called me.
I see.
At least he said he did.
Any reason why he shouldn't have?
Do you know John Barber?
Never heard of him.
Well, at least you'll be starting on him fresh then. I mean, no preconceived idea about him.
Why do you say that? Don't tell me you suspect him of this.
Oh, no. Of course not. No reason at all. It's just that... Well, why don't we see just what's happened before jumping to any conclusion?
Look, Larry...
And see what you think of the others, too. That is, if Barber got a hold of them.
What others?
Well, there's Trudy, his ward.
Trudy?
Gertrude Wilson. But there's certainly no reason to suspect her of anything. You try it, Johnny, and you'll have me to answer to.
Oh, it's that way,
Well, we're real good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I know her well enough to know that, well, it'd be ridiculous, that's all.
Would it?
Sure. And as for Mike, though, well, who am I to judge in a case like this? Let's wait and see what you think.
Mike who?
Briscom.
How's he related?
Well, he's the old man's son, or rather adopted son.
He lived with Mr. Briscom?
No, not with him, Johnny, but certainly off of him. The way I get it, the old man threw him out on his own a few years back, but then apparently relented enough to keep feeding him plenty of good, cold, hard cash to play around with.
Wait a minute now. Didn't I see Mike Briscom's name in the papers not too long ago?
Yeah, maybe it was just after that big nightclub ruckus at the Purple Jive when a bunch of drunks kind of wrecked the joint.
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, but now wait, Johnny. Nobody actually saw Mike there that night. And just because of his reputation is no proof that he was. I mean, after all, Johnny, why hang the guy unless you're sure he deserves it?
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to have been treading the straight and narrow lately, even got himself some kind of a job, I understand. So I really have no reason to... Well, you see for yourself.
Tell me, did Briscom have a wife?
She died 8 or 10 years ago.
Who benefits by his death?
Well, if his will comes out the same way as the insurance, Mike gets 1/3 of everything and Trudy gets 2/3.
I see.
Except for the business, of course. That'll go to his partner, John Barber.
Oh, it will?
At least that's what Barber told me one day when I tried to sell him some insurance. But surely you don't think... Only what am I sweating over it for? You're the investigator, and it's all just sort of guesswork on my part anyhow. Why should I confuse you?
Confuse me?
Sure.
Oh, Larry, you may have been more help than you realize. In charge at the Briscom place was Sergeant Danny Gilbert, not the homicide man I'd have picked for a case like this. He was always a bit too sure of his usually wrong spot judgment. He sent Larry into the living room where a sad-eyed but good-looking girl sat quietly talking to a couple of men, then led me directly into the study where Briscom's body had been discovered earlier by the housekeeper.
That's old Mrs. Haskell, Dollar. After I got all I could from her, I sent her up to her room to weep and wail it out all by herself. She was only in the way.
I see.
Well, there's the stiff, just the way she found him. Only, don't you touch anything until the doc gets here.
The body was slumped forward over a big mahogany desk. The right hand, with obvious powder burns on it, still held the old battered .38 that apparently had done the job. There were powder burns in the forehead, too, where the bullet had entered at close range. There's no sign of a struggle, or of anything in the room having been disturbed.
Body's all so stiffened up, I figure it happened sometime late last night.
Yes, very possibly. Who was here in the house with him?
Only the housekeeper.
You sure of that?
That's what she says, Dollar. I've got no reason to doubt her.
Mm-hmm. And she didn't hear the shot?
Her room is away up on the 3rd floor. Besides, she's kind of deaf.
Well, from the looks of things around here, Sergeant...
Sure, Dollar. It's obvious. Plain as the nose in your face. The old man committed suicide.
Did he?
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Well, I do. I'm betting the lab crew and the medical will back me up. I've seen too many of these things not to know the signs.
What kind of signs?
Briscom's business hasn't been doing too well lately.
Hasn't it?
Certainly hasn't. Ask his partner out there, Mr. Barber.
Yes, I will.
And he's had that worthless kid Mike on his hands. And even that ward of his, Trudy Wilson's been a worry to him ever since she stopped living here with him.
And that's proof that he committed suicide.
It's good enough for me.
Well, Sergeant, don't bank on it.
August 12th, 1962, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, August 12th, 1962, and The Oldest Gag Matter.
Suicide? I doubted it, in spite of the fact that it was clearly indicated. But all I had to go on was what Larry Spangler had told me. And when Dr. Thaddeus Frambler and his lab crew got through, it looked as though I was wrong. They could find absolutely nothing to suggest anything but suicide. The only fingerprints on the beat-up old revolver, Briscom's gun that he'd had in his desk for years, the only prints on it were his own. The angle of the shot, its proximity as indicated by the powder burns, the burns on his hand, still holding the gun, all showed that it must have been his finger that pulled the trigger. But maybe with a little help from someone else.
Dollar, that's suspicious mind of yours.
Sergeant, what about the fact that the gun was still in his hand?
Doesn't mean a thing.
Well, wouldn't he have dropped it to the desk or to the floor when he died?
Not if the bullet hit some part of his brain that caused a final spasm, made him tighten up. Ask the doc here, Dollar. Go ahead, ask him, will you?
All right, Sergeant. Doc, the law says you have to do an autopsy in a case like this. I'd like to know the results of it.
It's all right by me, Doc. You can tell him anything he wants to know as far as I'm concerned. But it isn't going to make any difference.
We'll see.
And, Dollar, you'll only be wasting your time talking to those people out there in the living room, young Miss Trudy, then Mike Briscoe, then Mr. Barber.
Well, maybe, Sergeant, but I'd like to talk to them anyway and separately, if you have no objections.
Oh, Dollar, that suspicious mind of yours.
You said it.
Suicide? Oh, no, Mr. Dollar. I'll never believe that. Daddy simply wasn't the type to commit suicide. Never.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it true that he was kind of worried about you, Trudy?
Because of the way I left him, moved away from here to get along on my own. He didn't like it, if that's what you mean.
Why did you leave him? I understand he was very good to you.
I know, and it may have seemed ungrateful. Because he and his wife took me in when I was just a little baby.
Mm-hmm.
They fed me, they clothed me, gave me an education. And after Mother died, he even sent me to college. But he was such a tyrant. He wouldn't ever let me think for myself, do the things I wanted to do, go with the people I wanted to go with. He insisted on running my whole life. Even the man that I wanted to marry wasn't allowed in the house.
I see.
When Daddy had business with him, he went to see him at his office.
Trudy.
I'm not a child anymore, Mr. Dollar. I have a mind of my own.
Oh, I can see that.
I felt I had a right to use it to do the things I want to do. And I've done very well, thank you. Even he had to admit it and stop harping about the way I broke his heart by leaving him.
You don't seem too upset over his death, Trudy. Well?
No. No, I'm not.
Because of the fortune that'll be coming your way now?
Yes, partly. It'll make me free, independent. I can marry the only man I've ever wanted to marry, do exactly as I please, without this stubborn old man breathing down my neck all the time.
Trudy, you realize, don't you, that if he didn't commit suicide...
Of course he didn't.
...that a statement like that might point the finger of suspicion at you as a possible murderess?
Would you rather that I'd lied to you, Mr. Dollar?
Suicide? A strong-minded, stubborn old codger like Frank Briscom? Never, Mr. Dollar, never.
You seem pretty sure of that, Mr. Barber.
I have reason to. If you've been in business with him for nearly 10 years, as I have, you'd know it couldn't have been suicide, too.
Even the worries about your business?
He had no worries about it, not really, Mr. Dollar. Don't you know how much Frank was worth? Nearly $1 million. I mean, of his own. Sure, the business hasn't done very well lately, but that's because of him.
What do you mean by that?
That stubbornness of his over his out-of-date, old-fashioned methods, his refusal to let me put in new, efficient equipment, inaugurate new procedures that could have made a fortune, that could have put me on easy street, too. Believe me, things will be different now.
Now that he's conveniently out of the way and you'll have the business alone?
Yes. Yes, that's right, Mr. Dollar.
In other words, then, Mr. Barber, if it wasn't suicide...
And I'm certain it wasn't.
You've shown a pretty good motive for killing him yourself, haven't you?
Oh, no, just a... That's ridiculous, but I suppose I have now, haven't I?
You certainly have.
Would you rather that I tried to deceive you about my feelings in this whole matter?
What do you want me to do, Dollar? Try and put on an act?
Then you're not at all sorry, Mike.
Why should I be? After all, he was no blood kin to me any more than he was to Trudy or her to me.
So I understand.
So I'm not one bit sorry the old man's gone. There's been a lot of times I wished I could have kind of helped him on his way.
In spite of the fact that he was pretty good to you over the years?
He's doing a lot better for me right now, Dollar, than he ever did before.
You mean the money you'll inherit?
Sure. A third of his money, 1/3 of all that nice insurance. Oh, one nice big hunk.
No insurance if it was suicide, Mike.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Dollar.
Well?
Did you know the old man?
No, I didn't.
Well, if you had, you'd know perfectly well he never knocked himself off. I don't care what that crazy cop says.
You don't think so?
I know he wouldn't. And another thing.
Yeah?
He took on a lot of religion the last couple of years, took it real serious.
Oh?
I guess that's why he kind of got charitable and started giving me some dough now and again. And to him, the worst sin he could do would be either to kill anybody or to take his own life. In fact, Dollar, he bored me with a lecture on that subject more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd known him, you'd know he was dead serious in that religion stuff.
You said that you considered helping him on his way.
Well, I said I kind of wished I could, is all. That's all I said. And, well, that, and then I'm glad he's gone, yeah.
Any idea who might have done it, Mike? Besides you?
Well, most anybody might have done it. I mean, that would have got something out of it.
Like who?
Well, how about Barber? That gets the business now. What about Trudy?
You really think so?
I don't know. I can't see either of them actually doing it. You know, my only gripe, Dollar.
What's that? Trudy
gets 2/3. I only get 1/3. Now, maybe if I was smart and I wasn't so lazy, I'd make a big play for her, you know? After all, we're not real relatives, so I'd marry her and then, I'd have my hands on it all. But I guess I'd never get her away from that guy she's going with.
Larry Spangler.
I'll do all right anyway. My share of all that dough, even without the insurance, is good enough for me. And you know how much that's going to amount to, Dollar?
Enough to kill him for, Mike?
Sure. Absolutely. But I didn't do it. And Dollar, he didn't commit suicide.
I'm beginning to think maybe you're right about that.
About no suicide?
Yes.
But I didn't kill him.
Somebody did. The body was taken to the morgue. Then Sergeant Gilbert, still sure that it was suicide, felt there was no reason to hold any of Mr. Briscoe's beneficiaries and told them they could leave. Told me to forget the whole thing. Then he left us there.
And if you'll excuse me, I better get on down to the office. I'm afraid Frank's death is going to be quite a shock to some of the older employees who've been with him since he started the business.
Yes, Mr. Barber, maybe you'd better get rolling with some of those profitable new procedures that you were telling me about.
Huh?
Now that you've got Mr. Briscoe out of your hair.
I've got him out of my hair. Are you implying, Mr. Dollar?
If the shoe fits.
I get a little tired of hearing Sergeant Gilbert say it, but you are a suspicious man.
All three of you swore it couldn't be suicide.
I know, but... excuse me. I must go.
You mind if I bum a ride with you?
No, Mike. Come along.
Right. And, brother, I'm going into town and tie on one that'll make history in this burg.
You would.
Trudy? Certainly no reason for you to stay around.
No, I'll be glad to get out of here.
If it's all right with you, Johnny, I'll drive Trudy on home, and you can take my car back to the office or the apartment if you like.
Sure, Larry. I'd be glad to.
You've held up under this very well, darling.
Why not, dear? Johnny.
Yeah?
In spite of what that policeman and the doctor and those laboratory men said, do you think it was suicide?
You worried about the insurance money that won't be paid if it was?
Not Johnny.
Of course not, Johnny. And do you know why? Because compared to the rest of the estate, the insurance doesn't matter. I'll be perfectly content without it. But you didn't answer me. Suicide or murder?
Trudy?
Yes.
You know, that's a very good question. If motive alone were the answer, I'd surely say murder. But considering the circumstances, what little evidence there is...
Of course, Johnny, it has to have been suicide.
Because it'll save your company having to pay off?
Well, that is something to think about, you know. Come on, honey, I'll take you home. See you later, Johnny.
When the lovebirds drove away in Trudy's car, I took off in Larry's. Then I suddenly began to think about the route to his office. Something that he'd said about it earlier. Instead of going there, I drove to the morgue where Dr. Frambler was finishing up his brief autopsy.
No, Mr. Dollar, I'm afraid it was suicide, all right.
Not even any bruises, anything like that, huh, Doctor?
Well, a slight one, yeah.
Where?
On the forehead, at just about the point where the bullet entered.
All right, then.
But that could easily have been caused when he fell forward on the desk.
Maybe, but I'm betting it wasn't. I say that old man was struck on the forehead enough to knock him out. It wouldn't have taken much at his age.
Oh, well, I know.
Then he was shot in the same spot. So the bullet and the muzzle blast would cover up that bruise. Now, you've got to admit that's possible, Doctor.
It's possible, of course, but the police found only his own prints on that gun, although it may have been wiped clean quite recently.
Sure it was. Easiest thing in the world is to pick up a gun with somebody else's hand.
somebody unconscious, and make it pull the trigger, and that's exactly what happened.
But who, Mr. Dollar?
On the way over here just now, I suddenly realized my apartment was nowhere near the route between his office and the Briscom place, in spite of the fact that he'd said it was. That was just an excuse to pick me up so he could talk to me.
What, sir?
And that corny, real friendly bit right from the beginning. Call me Larry. Real palsy.
Larry?
Yes. And all that dope he gave me on the others, that would make any one of them suspect. Why? In case the job hadn't been done well enough, that it might look like the murder it really was? Of course.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
As for calling me in himself, that's the oldest gag in the world. As a cover-up to take away any possible suspicion from himself. And as for motive, he had all the motive in the world.
Mr. Dollar.
Look, Doc, if there's no real evidence to pin it on him... Wait a minute.
Yes?
Maybe if I tear into him, act convincing enough, I can make him think there is.
No, Johnny, you're out of your mind.
As for motive, Larry, who had a better one? The girl, that fortune, even without the insurance, would be enough to keep a bright-eyed young opportunist wealthy for the rest of his life.
Now, listen.
Too bad, isn't it, that your lack of experience in crime tripped you up so easily?
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Don't I?
You're out of your mind. You're crazy.
Oh, not I, Larry.
You have no proof of anything like you're suggesting.
Haven't I?
No.
Didn't you know that your latent prints would show up on that gun even after carefully wiping it?
And
That your prints would show up on the back of old man Briscom's hand just as clearly as they did on the arm of the chair you sat in there in the living room? That a simple comparison down at police headquarters.
My fingerprints on the back of his head?
That's right.
That's impossible.
Is it?
Yes, because of a pair of cotton gloves that I wore.
Cotton gloves, Larry? Oh. Like I said, Larry, you're a complete inexperience.
Johnny, no.
Only the rankest amateur would have let himself be tripped up like that. And only the rottenest kind of insurance man would have tried a thing like that. Thank heaven there aren't very many of them. Expense account total? Wait a minute. Of course, there isn't any. And you know what? I'm glad there isn't. This kind I wouldn't want to collect on anyway. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
From August 12, 1962, Mandel Kramer, as yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows on demand. Find a link of podcast apps where you can get our show. You can also contact me. You can find our social media links. And you can even buy me a coffee if you're so inclined. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. Tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.